Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Natalie Osecki from the Business Spotlight interview series. And today we are joined by Jeremy Stern from Promo Veritas. Jeremy, thanks for joining us today. Please kick us off with an introduction as to who you are and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, most of you have probably gone shopping and you've seen all the Kellogg's cornflakes and the Pepsi cans with the win promotions. But have you ever wondered whether you've A, got a chance of winning, and B, who's behind it? And the answer is we provide both of those answers. We are the promotional compliance specialists. So we operate in the UK, in Europe, and globally for major brands and brands of all sizes, making sure that the prize promotions that they work on are fair, legal, secure, and safe.
Wow, that's brilliant, Jeremy. That's great. And how long has Promo Veritas been in business for?
We've been going for 20 years. I started it following a career in mainstream marketing. So I used to work for companies like Unilever, who own Persil and Dove and lots of other brands. And then I joined Tesco, and then I was European Promotions Director for Coca-Cola. And on my career, I just saw that prize promotions were really successful. They do build sales, but they were being run badly. The secretary would be pulling names out of the hat. Competition entries weren't being judged properly, shall we say. And I just felt that there was a need to run things right. There are rules in this country. There are laws, and there's the Advertising Standards Authority, and they have certain rules that need to be followed. And perhaps it wasn't known in the industry. So that was the rationale for setting it up.
Wow, so that's what kind of inspired you to start the business.
Well, the main reason was actually I got made redundant. So from
Ah,
adversity came success. So I was marketing director for Sega, the games company, and they closed their business as a console maker. And so that gave me the chop. And I then took my redundancy and had to think about what I wanted to do. Did I want to go back into employment, or did I want to take a chance on being an entrepreneur? And I took that latter route with the idea of making sure that I could run prize promotions for big brands correctly.
wow. I see that you have now launched in America. Can you tell me a bit more about that, please?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the business started small, just working with the brands that I knew. And then one day somebody said, "Can you work in France for our French division?" And I went, "Yes," which is one of the skills I've always got. And I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, the word yes is a very useful tool to have. And saying it with confidence. You may be quivering inside because you know nothing about French law. And from that, we expanded. And last year, we worked in 80 countries around the world.
Wow, 80
Everything from
countries.
Chile to China, Austria to Australia. So the
Amazing.
brands like Pringles, like Kellogg's, like Cadbury, they want to have savings. They want to run the same campaign. If it works in Britain, it'll work in China, or will it? And that's our skill. We help them to do that. And we started to get lots of work out of America. So we had phone calls from people like Amazon
That's
and
phenomenal.
Budweiser, who are now major clients. And so we decided that we would set up Promo Veritas Incorporated to service them. It just felt a more logical route that people in Seattle were paying into an American bank and an American company rather than sending it over to London.
Wow. And what would you say have sort of been your biggest challenges in terms of incorporating, moving, setting up and launching in America? Have there, I imagine, of course, there must have been some challenges along the way, expanding your business, but can you tell our audience what would have been your sort of biggest sort of challenges or biggest learnings, let's call them?
Yeah, I think the biggest learnings that we would have is that it really helps if you've already got established clients. Because you can use that as a springboard. You've got a case study, you've got client testimonials that you can then use. But I suppose the biggest learning is that America is not the same as the UK. They have a completely different legal setup, and they have both federal and state laws, and that's quite complicated. Here we have 20% VAT, right? If you sell a good, 20%. In America, they have a federal tax, and then they have state taxes. And that's quite complicated to get your head around because individual states charge different rates. So if we're providing a service for Amazon who are based in Seattle, which is Washington state, but actually the winner is in New York state, which tax applies? Is it where we're being paid or is it where we're delivering the service? So we had to spend a lot of money, and lawyers in America charge a lot per hour, $700 or $800 an hour, in order to resolve it. So I think it's the legal challenges of understanding the matrix.
Thank you for that, Jeremy. And congratulations on winning the King's Award for Enterprises. What do awards like this mean to you as a business? What is how significant is it for you?
Well, I think the King's Award is the top of the tree. We have won a number of awards in the past.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yep. So we just won CEO of the Year under the best business awards and a variety of other awards. And they're nice, they're flattering, and they're good for the ego, but they're not terribly good for the business because there are a lot of award schemes out there, and most of them are out to try to make money from their dinners. The King's Award is entirely different. There's no cost to enter, but there is a lot of effort to require, and there's no gala dinner that you have to pay a large amount of money to. But you do get to meet the king. So that has real status. It has real standout. And I think it will be, we only have just won it now. I think it will be of use as we try to establish the legitimacy of Prima Veritas in other markets. It will help us to at least appear credible and be as we are.
Wow, what a journey. That's incredible. That's massive. So if I were to ask you, how have you expanded your business? Would you say we've covered that, or do you think there's still some answering to be done there?
When I started it, like all good business people, well trained, I did a business case for what my first 3 years were going to be and what I was offering. And I've looked back at that now, 20 years on, and what we now sell compared to what I was proposing to sell then, only 20% of our income now comes from what I planned to be selling at the start. I planned that we would be doing prize draws and we would be judging competitions, and that was our income. Now, when I look at the business today, only 20% of our income comes from those areas. So 80% of our income comes from areas that I didn't even anticipate at the start. So I'm talking here about doing Willy Wonka style competitions. We do TV shows. So when you hear the votes are independently verified, that's often Prima Veritas. Didn't anticipate that at the start. Going international, definitely didn't anticipate that. I was happy to stay UK. So I think a big lesson is go with the flow. Listen to your clients. Anticipate their needs if you can, but if you haven't anticipated them, when they ask you, can you go to France? It's that big yes, of course. And then you panic and make it happen. So I suppose that lesson is do not stick to your game plan if the world is moving around you.
Oh, wow. That's so inspiring. That's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for that share. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business as an employer, as a CEO? Yeah, I'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear it.
I don't know that I do. You're always switched on. One of our company values is curiosity. And there isn't a day that goes by when I'm not out and about in the street and I see a poster, or I go into a shop, or I see something and I take a picture of it and I come back and I discuss it with one of the team members. Is that a prospect? Is that a good, clever idea? So I suppose I'm always on. I've got 6 children and 11 grandchildren.
My
So
goodness.
that takes up time. It's fairly full on, I have to admit. But when you've created your own baby, you want to look after your baby, and yeah, you go away on holiday, you take your laptop. That's the nature of life.
Absolutely well said.
Never switch off.
Yeah, and if you had to start from square one in the business, or in business in general, what would you do differently?
I think I'd probably invest more in technology than I have done. We're now 45 people. Including in-house lawyers, digital project managers, sales team, etc. And we do use software packages. But I think if I had my time again, I would start afresh and invest in an IT consultant who could really provide a whole enterprise system that is seamless. At the moment, we're a bit patchy. So I think technology and AI clearly now, I would have some of that built in. I think the other key thing is investment in your people. I've managed to promote one of my team members who started as an account manager 12 years ago, and she's now the managing director. I've had other people who have been with me for 8 or 9 years. I've had people who have left me and have come back. One did so last week. He went off to a big company for 12 months, didn't like it. We've had 5 boomerangs in 18 months, people who go and come back. So I think it's the people that I would probably invest as much in as well.
And what qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
So you want to know how we foster a culture of hard work and happiness. And the answer is it's a very difficult balance because you can have fun, but when there's hard work to be done, that's got to come first. And so we do balance it out. The guys do have timesheets and we do try to work as effectively as possible. But we also do have that fun. So last week we had an away day at the Museum of Brands, which was great. Everyone had to do a sort of apprentice TV show style exercises. And then we went to the pub to watch the England match. But equally, if there's a job to be done, then people have to stay a little bit later.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. And Jeremy, you work with big companies. So there was a published list from the Groser Magazine of 100 top brands, and you work with 53 of those.
Yeah.
What does that mean, to a sort of, well, I guess the better question is, do you work with small companies or is it just the big companies?
Look, we're passionate about what we call promotional compliance, which is about making sure that the prize promotions, that the consumer promotions that you see out there are fair and legal. Okay, the UK has the most liberal sales promotion laws in Europe. If you want to give away a television now, Natalie, you can just do it. It's not a problem, provided you follow some basic rules like having terms and conditions, a closing date, and the draw is done fairly. If you wanted to do that and you were based in Italy, you would have to, A, 2 weeks in advance, send the government your terms and conditions, B, buy an insurance bond in case you went bust before you gave away the TV, and C, have a public official, somebody from the council, come over to your house and do the draw after the closing date. And that's going to cost you money, right? And by the way, all the winners pay tax, and there's no taxes in the UK on prizes. They're heavily regulated over there and in other countries in Europe. Why? Because they've had disasters. Because people have been ripped off. There have been failures. Prizes not delivered. Over here in the UK, I'm very passionate that those tough laws do not come over here. That we maintain the freedom that we have to market and to promote. And that promotes creativity. So we will work with companies of any size because it only takes a few companies of any size to screw it up. If a government, whichever government it is, thinks that there are abuses going on, they will impose legislation. So whether it's a Natalie giving away that television, or whether it's a Unilever or Pepsi or a Coca-Cola, we will absolutely make sure that their promotion is safe, secure, and compliant.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thanks for clearing that, Jeremy. And what would you say about some common misconceptions about running a business?
Number one is it's the route to massive profits. Because a huge percent of promotion of companies don't succeed. Number two, that it's easy and that you can do it 9 to 5. You can't. It's a full-on thing. And the other aspect is that really very few of us are ever trained to run our own business. I'd worked for 20 years in industry before I started Promo Veritas, and I knew so little. Because we're not taught about VAT. We're not talking about employee relationships. Because if you work in a company, you've got people that do those things. All right, in a company, you're doing your little bit. When you go solo, when you set up your own, you're doing it all. All right, I had to deal with the tax man, I had to deal with the council, I had to find offices. None of those were skills that I had before. And even if you go on a running your own business course, then maybe you'll have some experience. But until you've done it once, the first time, it's not the same. So it's not easy, number one, but it is very satisfying. When you see your baby grow from a small little thing to now this multinational, multi-million pound business, it's quite nice. But I get most pleasure from the people. I've had people come in here and work for me in the summer holidays. Maybe they're friends, they're the children of friends of mine or just other contacts, and they come and they start in the packing room effectively. And now one of them is an senior account director running our biggest clients. She
Wow.
started just packing toys for Disney. It's fantastic. One of our sales guys decided that she wanted to advance, and so we've supported her, and she's now become one of our legal team. She's
Wow.
transitioned. So it's seeing the people development that is really nice.
If if I were to sort of ask you, Jeremy, what is your long-term vision, say in the next 5 years? What would your answer sort of be to that? Where would
um, well, a lot depends on what my clients feel like, if they're kind and continue to give us trade. But I think I've started that process already. I'm the CEO, but I now have a managing director, and I now have a team of senior managers in place. So my aim is to decouple myself increasingly from the business and to provide oversight and supervision rather than getting involved in the day-to-day. The business has to be able to survive without me. It can no longer be a Jeremy business. And that's my number one priority.
right, that's brilliant. And I think we've sort of in this short interview we've covered quite a lot of questions, but if we were to sort of end our short interview today with perhaps a favorite quote, or well, a favorite quote would be nice. And also, if you could perhaps share with our audience that are watching this with a tip, perhaps for their business, that would be brilliant for us.
All right, well, the simple quote is begin with the end in mind. I like that one. I use that regularly in meetings or when we're starting projects. So when you get together with with people, you can often do an awful lot of talk. But the key thing is, what do we want at the end of it? And cut to the chase. The end looks like this. Now, how do we get there? So begin with the end in mind would be my short tip. In terms of the other aspect, when you start your own business, you have to have a lot of self-belief. You have to have massive amounts of confidence. And you can't inject confidence. You can't consume, swallow confidence. You have to somehow give yourself confidence. The downside of confidence is that your self-belief may be false. That actually what you want and what you think you've got is not actually what the market wants. And so my tip to you is be super confident, all right? Have that self-belief, but try to associate yourself, link yourself up with someone else who can give you a sense of reality. You have to have that reality check. If after 2 years, your turnover is 20 grand and it's not going up, you've probably not got the right thing. And it will take a lot of bravery for you to maybe realize that. But pair yourself with somebody who's got a more realistic approach.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jeremy. That's massive for us, and it's been a pleasure interviewing you today. And I'd like to say thank you so much for your time. Thank
Well,
you.
hopefully now next time you see prize promotions out there and we're behind it, you'll feel impassioned to enter them, and who knows, you may well win that holiday.
Absolutely. How exciting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.